I think the topic of homosexuality is so hotly debated and so blown up all the time that I feel like we kind of lose sight of why we're having the discussion, which is human beings. You know, we talk about homosexuality in the abstract as like you kind of like you're putting homosexuality on the hot seat, and it's like, is it a sin? Is it not? Well, this verse may be saying it's a sin, but it is in the Old Testament next to these other verses that we don't comply with. But what about this verse? But maybe he's talking about pederasty. You know, when Paul talks about it being an abomination, and we get so focused on the idea of homosexuality that we forget that we're talking about human beings, real people with real life experiences, with real needs, with real desires. And we talk about so much in the abstract that I often wonder, like, what does it do? You know, so let's say you decide, you know, the Bible shows me that homosexuality is wrong. I know it's wrong. Okay, so how do you treat people when they say, hey, I'm gay? I've been gay my whole life. Ever since I was 5, I never thought girls were attractive. I've always been attracted to guys, or vice versa. A girl saying, I never wanted to marry Prince Charming. I always felt feelings for girls in my class. How do you treat those people? You know, do they tell you that? Then you say, okay, so you're going to hell, and I can't talk to you. Is that what we do? Or if you decide it's sinful, if that's what your conclusions have brought you to, how do we actually treat people? Because obviously so many people are trained like, okay, you need to have a decision and you need to be able to back it in a debate. But like, what the hell are the debates for? Unless if I think you're a pastor and you're being asked to perform maybe a wedding ceremony for a LGBT couple, I don't really know what your opinion on the issue even does. I think that the church has clearly mishandled this LGBT question of how are we to treat the gay community, because I think the question hasn't been how are we going to treat the gay community. It's just been like homosexuality, let's debate it. And then I think people who are gay see the church debating it and saying, well, this is why it's a sin and not, and they're like, whoa, I'm a person and this is creepy watching people yell about me. You know, 2 nights ago we played a show in San Diego on Halloween. It was a great time. Everyone was in costumes. And within an hour of each other, I met a gay Christian rapper who's very passionate about telling his story, talking about how much shame he's always felt, talking about him sometimes wanting to end his life because he feels like clearly God screwed up, or clearly God wanted me to suffer because I'm this way, I've always been this way, and no amount of treatment will change me. And it is pretty proven that trying to change someone's sexual orientation through like certain CBT techniques is not healthy and actually kind of dangerous. And he's been through that, and he's been very scarred by that. And then within an hour of meeting this guy, I met a guy who yelled at me, who was furious. I mean, I think he'd rehearsed his conversation with me about our shirt that says "Heal us of our homophobia," about how it was disgusting to put that word on a shirt, and how talking about homophobia clearly, you know, means that I hate him because he disagrees with gay marriage. I was so shocked how he'd been fed this, I would say, propaganda from his news sources that all liberal people hate him if he doesn't want to wed gay couples, even though he's not even a pastor. And at the same time, propaganda being fed to people saying, like, if someone disagrees with homosexuality, if they think that the religion says it's sinful, they want to physically hurt you. They hate you, which is not the case. I meet a lot of people at shows who have bought our shirt that says "Heal us of our homophobia," because they are not homophobic. They do not hate gay people. They do interpret scripture to say that these things are not the way that God created relationships to be, but in no sense do they hate gay people or fear gay people. As a matter of fact, they have gay friends and they love them. They don't understand how their gay friends came to their conclusion, but they do not hate their gay friends. They're friends. They're supportive of them. We live in such a polarized society with no imagination. I would call it like a two-dimensional political sphere of like, you are either homophobic or you are completely affirming of the LGBT community and narrative. And you're either one of those two, but I see people in the middle constantly. I see people who are supportive of their LGBT friends, but they don't know how they feel about that in their own lives. And I think we lack such an imagination to remember that this question about how we feel about homosexuality is about humans first and foremost. And wherever people end up landing on the question, because there's no way that I want to open the can of worms that is arguing the Greek in certain verses and what the Greek really means. I mean, there's tons of people who will do that for you on the internet. But I think if I could encourage people to do anything, wherever you've landed in your conclusions as a Christian or as a Muslim or as an agnostic person, wherever you've landed, love them, because regardless of what you believe, people from the LGBT community are often a marginalized community. That is a group of people that suffer abuse at the hands of hateful people. I had, a guy try to explain to me how gay people don't, they aren't persecuted. And as a matter of fact, they're persecuting him and they're persecuting conservative people. And that's bullshit. That's not true. I have gay friends who have been beaten for being gay. I have gay friends who are afraid to hold hands in public. In a lot of areas of the country, in certain areas of the world even, it's not safe for people to be openly gay. And as Christians, regardless of what your biblical interpretation has called you to, I'm very passionate about saying love and protect people who are marginalized, and often, especially in other areas of the country that I've been to, maybe a little less than California, it can be scary being gay. And to my gay friends and family, I love you, and I'm extremely proud of you. I'm proud to be your friend. I'm proud to be someone that people have said, hey, I'm gay, and you're the first, second, third, fourth person I've told this to, because saying that you're something, or identifying with something that you might be afraid of, or identifying with just coming to terms with your feelings, is an extremely difficult thing to do, and I think it takes a lot of courage. I guess in summary, approach the next time you hear people debating, gay marriage or homosexuality, is it a sin or is it in the Bible? I would say let's ground it within the reality of human beings and realize that every person has a different story. The idea that you're either straight or completely gay is also, I would say, a myth. I think there's a lot of people on a spectrum who are figuring out their own life, and I think we all experience brokenness in our own sexuality. As a straight male, I've experienced so much brokenness in my sexuality, and if you're someone who is, figuring out your sexuality or confused, just know that a lot of us are confused. Just because I know that I've been attracted to women my whole life doesn't mean that I haven't been confused or felt like, is this right? Is this wrong? Am I making a mistake? Feeling embarrassed about myself. We all go through that, and that's a common human experience. And whatever you believe about being lesbian or being gay or being transgender or questioning your gender, whatever you believe about those people, please love them. And I would hope that the narrative would go from being Christians arguing about how they believe, or Christians being really, really scary people to talk to about that, or Christians thinking it's a chief sin, which is bizarre. I had a dude tell me that it's one of the chief sins, like one of the mortal sins, which the whole hierarchy of sins is also bizarre, because I believe sin is that which brings us away from our attention being on the love of God and to ourselves. So the idea that we can make a hierarchy of sins also bizarre. I guess wherever you come to a decision, I hope the one thing that I and that Silent Planet can be a part of your journey would be, look at the person, not the label. Look at the human being, and you might see a lot of suffering. And I think when you come into contact with someone's story, all your theories and all of your apologetics and all of your if and but so therefores kind of fall short of the wonder of a human being and what they've been through.